Hey guys, it's a little chilly today, hence this. I'm actually going to be in the DC area soon, so once I go to the DC area, it's actually cold, then I won't ever complain about it being cold in LA. So if anyone in the DC area wants to meet up, let me know. But I wanted to talk about this because it's one of those things where I didn't even realize I carried over from the 2020 lockdowns. So for those of you who are in chiller places, you probably don't know what happened to some parts of the world where you weren't allowed to go to your place of worship. Churches were closed down. And eventually in 2020 and then 2021, churches reopened. But first of all, most of them, you could only worship outside. It was outdoor worship. You couldn't worship inside. And then 2021, for those of you who remember, there were those vaccine passports. Remember that stuff? Vaccine cards? How unconstitutional is that, man? So eventually I found a church at the end of 2021, early 2022, where they masqueraded as a restaurant. Masqueraded is the wrong word. That implies they're being deceitful. They just rebranded as a restaurant. And so the rule in LA at the time, I can't believe I'm talking about this because, again, a lot of you didn't live in New York or LA, one of these states that really had a lot of incompetence. You guys cannot even imagine this, but the rule in LA County at the time was that if you're a restaurant, once you either get your temperature screened, you show you have a religious or medical condition where you don't need a mask and you don't need to show your card, or you show them your card, then you could take off your mask and sit down inside, right? So the church that I went to for a few weeks, they rebranded as a restaurant. So they followed the same rules as the restaurant, where everyone got their temperature screened. And then all the churchgoers inside a restaurant setting worship. Oh my God, what a world we lived in. So anyways, the point is, eventually I couldn't do it anymore. That church was just not the right vibe for me. It was too dark in there. I could go on a whole rant about where churches are these days, but long story short, I kept searching for churches, and I still haven't found the right church. But what I started doing as things got a little bit more open, and then finally in 2023, when the world just collectively decided to forget that we ruined our economy, ruined our mental state, ruined our kids for 2.5, 3 years, then the churches I started going to were a little smaller. So since 2020, before the pandemic, I for 4 years have not been in a big church to worship, right? I've been to smaller churches. I've been to other types of settings like outdoor settings, restaurant settings, but like an actual big, big tall ceiling type of church with a lot of people. When I mean a lot, I mean like more than 100 people. Like I hadn't been to one in 100 years. It felt like 100 years in 4 years. And for those of you in little small towns, or those of you who don't like those really big churches, I get you now. Because on Sunday, I went and I sat wherever there was a free seat, right? Which was sort of in the middle of everything. And then as the music started, I literally had this moment. I'm like, I'm about to have an anxiety attack. Because it's been so long since I've been around that many people singing. Or in general, that many people doing anything in unison, whether standing up or... And it's not just that, it's also that it's that many people in pretty close proximity to each other. And yeah, I never thought I would feel a sense of like, whoa. But a little precursor to this was sometimes I'd walk with some of my friends in the park nearby. And then naturally when people were coming my way, I still have this tendency to move away. I don't know if any of you have this, but I still don't feel that comfortable almost brushing shoulders on a crosswalk or a sidewalk or trails. I want to move a little bit farther out of the way. And my friend's like, you don't have to move out of the way. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's just like a habit I developed for a few years. So it's crazy what things lingering that we don't even know until we either notice it or it hits us like a truck for figurative and literal reasons. So the point of this video, guys, don't forget what happened the past few years. A lot of us are carrying after effects traumas of it for a long time, if not forever, man. And think about our kids, think about our grandkids, right? A lot of them, through therapy maybe later on in their lives, dig through all of that, man. So I encourage all of you guys, go to some therapy. Go to some therapy. Figure out healthy ways to process and reprocess and think about those 3 godforsaken years. That's the wrong word. I take that back. That's not the right word to use. But think about how you can slowly process and reprocess and talk about it if you haven't talked about it already. And then just think about what you're carrying, whether physically or mentally, emotional, etc. Because, yeah, it was such a shock to me that I had this moment. I was like, I want to leave. I want to leave this church. There's too many people around me singing and worshiping God. Like, what the heck? That would have never, ever gotten to me. The only time I ever felt something like this, one of the first churches I went to after I converted to Christianity, it was a church where it was just, because it's one of those environments where some people are really into it. And so there were 2 people behind me just like really into the singing. I'm like, dude, chill out. So that was like the only time I ever felt uncomfortable in a bigger church. But this was just one of those moments. I'm like, I know where this is coming from. This is coming from the fact that it's been years since I've been to such a big church and had this sort of worship and proximity to so many people. So anyways, you guys let me know. You guys leave a comment. Tell me, do you have any kind of things you realized that you still carry over from the pandemic? Emotional, physical, whatever. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm sure as we go through these next few years, we're going to find more things, long-term, social, definitely political, but emotional, physical stuff that we're all carrying that it's going to take years, if not decades, to correct. So anyways, guys, just a little PSA for you guys. Happy holidays. And obviously, you guys know I am very busy. For those of you who don't know, I have been taking a tax class. I just always been interested in taxes, and I wanted to learn more. I wanted to officially take a course to be able to, in the future, I could give people advice on taxes. Not to say I want to do that, but it'll at least help myself, right? It's something that we as kids should have learned. Like, you think about what is essential education for kids. Taxes should have been like, you should have been teaching kids about taxes starting in elementary school. Because 2 things, right? Ben Franklin said there's 2 things that are certain: death and taxes. So, yeah. If you guys want more videos on taxes, I could do that too. But going back on topic, just keep growing, right? Part of growing is reconfronting and reprocessing past things that you're carrying around. So it's not just learning new things and, striving to be more. It's also the existing you, right? The existing you. How are certain things, you might consider them defects, you might just consider them things that need improvement or whatever. How can you deal with that? So anyways, guys, a little quick one, and we will talk soon. Hopefully when I go into DC, I won't be such a wuss about the cold. All right, guys, talk to you soon.